This past Sunday morning here in Harlem, New York, I live in the church building, and I live on the third floor of the building. And I generally go to the window of what is our living room that looks north onto Lenox Avenue on Sundays because to see who's going to church. And this past Sunday, I did the same thing. About 10 o'clock in the morning, there's just 2 blocks from where our building sits is the 125th Street station of the IRT train line, which is one of the major lines in the New York City area, running from North Bronx, 241st Street, White Plains, all the way out to the end of Brooklyn. And so 125th Street is a big stop, and there are a lot of churches in this area. So for 10, 12 churches, you would figure about 3,000 people would be going to church on Sunday, getting off the trains, or at least walking the sidewalks is where it was years ago. But here's what I saw. I'm going to ask you to bring up Lenox Avenue was pretty much barren Sunday morning. And here is a man on the corner with his daughters as a Japheth brother that's there. He's waiting for an Uber car to come by to pick him up. But to the right is a junkie. He must have just shot up, and he can't move. He's bent over. He's incapacitated. He's nodding out. Now this is Sunday morning. Generally, 50 years ago, the sidewalks would be full of people in suits and ties going to church. But you notice this man with his children, this Japheth man, did not pay this Hamite brother any attention. His pants is down below his butt. You can see his buttocks. He's nodding out. He can't move. You've never been high on heroin, so you wouldn't know what that is. He cannot move. Every time he nods over, he's trying to move himself forward. He can't move. That drug has got him so paralyzed, he can't move. However, ironically, he's yet able to stand, but he can't walk. He doesn't want to stay there. He wants to leave. In his mind, he wants to move. But look at people walking by, and nobody's paying him any attention. This is Sunday morning in Harlem, everybody. This is Sunday morning in Harlem. This Sunday morning, and nobody is paying this man in it. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. By the way, this is just right across the street from our church. He's trying to move. He must have just shot up. He went directly to the vein on this. Now, see, he's trying to go. Okay, there you go. He's able to break whatever it was. You can see his butt. Look and see pardon my expression, you see the crack in his butt. His pants are down. So he reaches back to pull him up a bit. Notice nobody stops to help him. Nobody pays him any. It's like he's invisible. It's almost inhumane. Here's a man walking his dog. Now he's got street all by himself, and he's just there. He wants to move. He wants to leave there. He wants to go home, probably wherever that's at or someplace, but he can't move. That drug paralyzes you. In your mind, however, you see something completely different, but it paralyzes your system, your nervous system, and he can't move. But nobody pays him any attention. This is Sunday morning in Harlem. And by the way, you notice you don't see anybody look like they're going into church anywhere. People walking their dog and not going to church. Potentially this woman could be going to church, but I doubt it. 50 years ago, this sidewalk would have been littered with people on their way to church. But look at what's here now. Look at this man. Look at him. And it not only is there no church goers anymore, but nobody pays this man any attention. You know, I'm old school. I've been around long enough to remember when heroin hit back in the 1960s. I remember, and James Brown called it King Heroin. And I have to tell you, when I saw men nodding out on Fulton Street as I drove my air-conditioned automobile, I said, I got to help this. I got to do something about it. But I'm gonna tell you something. I never saw back in the '60s and the '70s anybody nod out on dope. I just never saw that. They would nod. But look at this man. Can you tighten up on him, Mr. Engineer? Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. Look at that. That's dope. That's drugs. He can't help himself. And he's a young man. What's he, 35? Is he 40 years old? Look at his hairline. And that's somebody's wasted son, somebody. How did he get there? What brought him to this state? And that nobody stopped to even pay even people with children didn't pay any attention to him. Didn't look at him. He's nothing. He's nothing to them. They no concern for him whatsoever. I mean, you would think the fact that his buttocks are showing that somebody would be alarmed. A man with his little daughters, Japheth people. The reason why nobody's alarmed is twofold. One is that they see this scene every day. This is Sunday morning in Harlem, in the beginning of August, in the year 2021. But they see so much of this every day and everywhere you look that nobody pays any attention to this anymore. I'm going to try to tell you why this is happening. I know the Lord has told me exactly why this is happening. I'm going to give you that. But I wanted you to just look at this for just a moment. Look, nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. A scene like this would cause a crowd to gather. Somebody called 911. Somebody called the emergency medical. Somebody called, his man is naked in the street, nodding out. Somebody called somebody. Nobody gives a damn. Nobody gives a damn about this man. And this is just a microcosm of the whole spirit of Harlem and communities like it. This just happened, as I speak, less than 7 days ago. But I see this all the time. This goes on all the time on this corner, and it goes on all the time in Harlem and all the Harlems around America. I want to say something to you, and I want you to hear me. I've raised a question, and Esther Bennett will testify, and members of the ATLAH Church will testify, is that the gentrifiers and the banksters have come up to Harlem over the past 25 years, and they bought up all the properties. They're establishing multi-million-dollar buildings, apartment buildings, luxury apartment buildings. They've driven the prices of brownstones and houses and condos up into the millions of dollars. Don Lemon and his wife, or his husband, used to live 3 blocks from here in a $2 million condo. Wasn't even a building, it was an apartment building. And everywhere you look all over Harlem, the gentrifiers have come up here and they purchase all of this property. Billions of dollars worth of property have they invested, and they're building new buildings every day, brand new luxury buildings. And one would ask the question economically, how on earth are you trying to establish million dollar properties and $1 million investment properties in a community where you've got this kind of activity going on the street all over Harlem? Can I tell you what the Lord has shown me? Now I want you to hear me very carefully. If you don't ever hear me again, let me listen to this and disagree if you so choose. Can I tell you that the Lord has shown me that the drug dealers that are dealing heroin to that man, and here's another one nodding out and sleeping on the streets, and you'll see a few of them, the engineer will bring them up. The Lord has told me that the drug dealers who normally be the Nicky Barnes types, or those who were big-time drug dealers in and the idea of what Harlem was going back 30, 40 years ago are now being given a drug, a heroin, that is not only potent, more potent than anything, or potent rather, than anything that the people of the 60s and 70s use drugs, the Frankie Lymas when they use drugs. What they're being fed today is not only a heroin that will addict them, but listen to me very carefully. Being sold and being doctored and being sold to the drug distributors a heroin that not only will addict men, but will kill them as well. Now, let me explain to you what I mean. The gangsters, the banksters, the gentrifiers that have come to Harlem want this community for themselves because it's a beautiful community. It sits right between two beautiful rivers. It's a beautiful community at the north end of Central Park. The streets and avenues are beautiful. They want it. But when they came here, it was occupied by nearly 100,000 Hamites, black people. And how do you get them out? Well, they ran some of them out. They foreclosed a whole lot of them. But there's a remaining 30 to 40,000 that's on the streets. And they're now giving them hot shots. Please listen to me. Please listen to me. This man has been given a hot shot. That is to say, he's been given a mixture of heroin and something more powerful than coronavirus or whatever else it is that they can give to you to weaken him and ultimately kill him. He's not going to live long like that. But there are thousands of drug users in Harlem today that are not only using a traditional heroin that was sold in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s that caused men to be addicted, including Billie Holiday. See, Billie Holiday, she would shoot up and then she'd go sing up a storm, Billie Holiday would. But she could sing on heroin. The same thing with Ray Charles. The same thing with a whole lot of people that were on heroin in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, but they could perform. This man you just saw, and it is a plan that is being put together by the banksters, by the politicians. The only way they can have Harlem free of men like this and people like me is to kill them all. That's the plan. That is the plan. And they're being given a hot shot. This man he's on something more heavier than heroin. I can tell you that right now. This man is on a manufactured drug that's being sold on the streets of Harlem to men and children. And within the next 7 years, all poor Hamite people, mind you, all poor Hamite people will be out of Harlem. And the gangsters and the gentrifiers and the banksters will have this multi-billion-dollar, if not trillion-dollar community all to themselves. This man is not going to live very long. This time next year, he ain't going to be alive. Whatever drug now this is the Lord talking. This is Almighty God talking. Now I know what the plan is. They're building billion-dollar estates and properties in this community with that kind of activity going on the street because they know within 7 years, all poor people will be driven from this community. And this man is a great example of, I could show you pictures of men sleeping in the streets. You've never seen anything like this before, or what's happened in this community. Here's another one, nodding out. You've never seen anything like this. The drug addiction of years ago was nothing like this. Billie Holiday didn't go sleep on the sidewalk. Ray Charles, all drug addicts, heroin users, they could perform because they were only on heroin. What you see now, look at this woman. Look at her. Look at her. She ain't going to live 2 years. 7 years from now, there'll be no poor people in Harlem. And the rich gangsters will have it all to themselves through the process of death. My friends, we've got to come to terms with the fact that there's a massive genocide plan to get rid of all poor people out of Harlem. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. And how you going to get rid of them? Kill them. Kill them. Kill them. Don't dose them with drugs. Listen, let me see what they've done. They bought off all the churches. They gave pastors millions of dollars for their puny little properties, for their church buildings. There are no churches, no schools, no poor people in Harlem. 7 years, by the year 2027. And they want to get rid of me too. Now I'm not going to talk about that right now. You need to see what's happening on the streets of Harlem. And I've taken several pictures of the activities going on here. But because a person making economic plans say, why would you put up, an $800 million building in the middle of a ghetto? Why would you do that? Because it ain't going to be a ghetto long. Well, you put it up. How are you going to get rid of all the poor people, the drug addicts? How are you going to get rid of the low-income people that live in Harlem? It's called genocide. That's what it's called. Can I share one other thing with you? And I want you to hear this. First of all, let's start. The drugs on the streets today are being tampered with. And I'm not sure what else is being tampered with to cause the life expectancy to be short, and within 7 years, there'll be no poor people left in this community. School systems. I want to tell you that the guns that are being supplied in Chicago are being supplied to young men to kill each other. The guns, because if the police wanted the guns off the streets in Chicago, they could go in and do a prison shakedown and go into your mama's house and take the guns. But they're not doing that. They're not doing that. Because if the killings of young black youth in Chicago continue the way it is going on now, and in other Chicago ghettos around America, 7 years from now, the poor black Hamite population will be down to nothing. And many of the rich and wealthy Japheth won't have to worry about poor black people anymore. Because they'll be dead. They'll be dead. They won't be in shelters. They won't be in jails. They'll be dead. The thing that prompted me to secure your attention once again is that I would love to talk to Melinda Gates. And I want to put out an appeal. Does anybody know her? I want to talk to her. And I want to ask her a question. I believe that if I can't ask it, maybe there's some other people who can get close to her to ask her this question. Why did you divorce Bill Gates? You didn't have to. You could do like Roosevelt and, his wife, Eleanor, sleep in different bedrooms, live on different islands. Y'all didn't have to divorce each other. Why did she divorce him? Now, I don't have this as a word from the Lord, but I do have the word regarding that the drugs that are being sold in Harlem's around America today is more than heroin. It's more than the Billie Holiday or the Ray Charles heroin. We're looking at death by way of genocide in a 7-year plan to clean Harlem. But I believe that Melinda Gates left Bill Gates because Bill Gates has had this fanaticism with depopulating the earth. His belief is this, that there are too many people on planet Earth. He said there's 7 billion people exponentially in another decade. There'll be, 12 billion. That's just too many. There's too many people for the water supply. There's too many people for the food supply. There's just too many people for living. There's just too many. 12 billion people on planet Earth in a decade is just too much. So I believe that Bill Gates has used his wealth and the devil has given him power to depopulate the earth. That is to say, to administer drugs and practices and principles that will kill off the population. I believe this. I don't have this as a word from the Lord, but I believe it. I believe there are people who recognize that if you can make certain persons wealthy, like the gangster rappers who promote poison of the mind, they promote dope. The gangster rappers, what they do to young people is what you just saw this man on the street with his butt showing. The gangster rapper poisons the mind of our youth. And they're just as stuck in a cycle with their pants below the belt. Because you wonder, why would a man like this drug addict with his pants pulled down? The gangster rappers and the young boys with their pants down below their butts. The gangster rappers are poisoning the mind and frying the brains and are killing, and they're getting billions of dollars, being paid billions of dollars to impress young Hamite boys to kill each other and to destroy themselves and to disavow all biblical norms. And by the year 2027, there will not be any Hamite poor people left in America today. And then after the gangster rappers and the drug dealers and the ones shooting each other in Chicago kill each other, then the gentrifiers and the gangsters are going to come and kill them somehow or another, or eradicate them from the planet Earth. Mind you as well, that the politicians, you should ask yourself the question, why is it that every ghetto city has right now a Hamite mayor? By ghetto city, I mean cities like New York, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Maryland, Houston, Texas, San Francisco, you name it, Richmond, Virginia, you name it. Why is it that every ghetto city, St. Louis, Missouri, I believe, Kansas City, Birmingham, Alabama, why is it that all these ghetto cities, by ghetto I mean within the internal city itself, you have a large number of Hamite people who live within that city and they can vote. And because they can vote all Japheth people out and vote. And so everywhere you look now in the media, every ghetto city has a Hamite mayor. This Keisha Bottom Adams or Lance Bottom Adams, whatever her name, down there in Atlanta, Georgia. Why? Because it's a ghetto city, number one. And number two, they can give the sense that there is a well-being because the mayor of the city, but that mayor is nothing more than a puppet. And as soon as Hamite people have gone into extinction, they're going to get rid of those mayors, and they're going to go into extinction as well. And the Japheth or the Bill Gates types can have America to themselves without having to worry about y'all anymore, or you all. My friends, I'm telling you, this is what the Lord has shown me. And you can see it all you got to do is just open your eyes. These politicians, they may have a Hamite, if you will, pedigree, but they're just there, like the drug dealer. You don't hear anybody getting arrested, big drug bust anymore. You don't see the police going before the television camera and say, we confiscated 20 kilos of heroin. You don't see that anymore. They're letting this heroin go freely to the streets. And not is it just regular poppy seed heroin, but it's also infused with something that is sterilizing men and women. And ultimately, you can't live more than 3 to 4 years on these doses of heroin. You're going to die. So this past Sunday morning, I look out on the street in front of our building, and this is what I see. But he's not the only one. A scene like this should cause people that walk by to be amazed. But they see so much of it. It's on every corner. They pay it no attention anymore. It is the killing of the poor Hamite people in the ghetto cities around America. And you don't have to ship them back to Africa anymore. You don't have to put them in jail anymore, and you don't have to have programs to take care of them anymore. We need to be very prayerful of what's happening in our world. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. I want to ask you to come up close for just 1 second. And I want to talk to 3-year and older veterans of the Trust in the Lord Hour, the Open Rewards Prayer Meeting, the Manning Report, and the Pulpit of Power, those 4 ministries that we do every week, producing at least 20 different ministries or sermons every week. If you are a 3-year or older veteran, by old I mean 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, older veteran of any of these ministries that we do on a daily basis every week, and you are not a supporter, you've not joined with the ministry to give to pledge your support and your alignment with what we've been teaching. My question is why? You've had 3 years to observe us. You've had 3 years to listen to us on a daily basis, all weekend, all day long, any hour of the day. We're broadcasting. You've had 3 years to watch our various successes. You've 3 years to watch our ups and downs. You've had 3 years to listen to the tenor or the consistency of what we have said, whether we are consistent or whether we're all over the chart and what we do and what we believe. You've had 3 years to watch people around us who have made the commitment to join with our ministry in church and to financially support it. And by the way, I want to give another shout out to Brother Jesse Munoz out there in San Bernardino, along with Goldfinger, who is just extraordinary giver, and others that do extraordinary giving to our ministry. My question is to you, if you are a 3-year veteran or older, why haven't you joined? Why haven't you committed? And I suppose some of the reasons would say, well, Pastor Man, I belong to another church. And why? How could you, after 3 years of hearing me teach about the Sabbath, about righteousness, about the tribulation, and listen to me faithfully as you do, and still go sit up in another pastor's face? How could you be? It's like a woman sleeping with 2 men. You know, one she likes during the week and the other she likes on the weekend. It's hypocritical. How could you do that? I mean, essentially, you started 3 months ago. I can understand. Well, it may take you some time to evaluate. It may take you some time to look at me, to discover, who I am. You say, well, Pastor, that's not that I don't belong to another church or ministry. I'm with you. But there's some things you say I like, and there's some things you say I don't like. Why? Why is it that you've made a decision that there's some things that you don't like are stronger than the things that you do like? I am not a psychiatrist, but I am an analyst. And I have to tell you, I analyze the world, understanding. But the understanding and wisdom tells me this, that if there are things that a person such as myself that I am saying, there is no room to disagree with what I am saying, unless your purpose is to find something to disagree with. Let's say, for instance, you say, well, I like the fact that you talk about Obama, but I don't like the fact that you talk about Trump. Let's say, for instance, you're one of those, right? Well, the purpose, it isn't that you just like what I say about Obama, but don't like what I say about Trump. What it is that you are looking for a reason to support Trump. It isn't that you don't like it. It's just that you don't like the fact that I'm saying something about him. It isn't that what I'm saying is wrong. Let me put it that way. It isn't what I'm saying is wrong or indifferent. You know it's right. But you've lived your life, or you've come up, or you've been raised with a doctrine that you can really live in a false reality. That's where you are. You've been raised in a doctrine that you can live in a false reality. That is to say, you can like the truth about Obama, but you don't like the truth about Trump. And it's the same truth. It's the same truth. There's no difference. But because you have been indoctrinated to live in a false reality, you are really a person who needs psychological debriefing. But trust me, there are zillions of people around the world who live that way. There are people who know what I'm saying about Trump or Obama is right. They know it. But they choose to ignore it based on the fact that they find a reality that isn't true, and they've settled in there. Say, well, that's one of the reasons why I've not made a commitment, because You know, I don't like the fact, I wish you would support what I support. But the truth of the matter is, then why do you come? You've given 3 years or more of your life to listen to me? 3 years of your life to listen to me? And you're not tired of listening to me yet? And you've given 3 years of your life, and over the past 3 years, your life has been greatly upgraded. You've learned, you've been educated, you've been enlightened. And let me say this to you. If you make the commitment, say, well, Pastor, I'm joining with you and I'm going to support, I'm going to do the tithe and offering, I'm going to do the first fruit, I'm going to keep the Sabbath, your life is going to soar. Now listen to me very carefully. Now I'm not going to leave you alone after this. Listen to me very carefully. You come as often as you come over the past 3 years because you're being helped. You're being educated. You're being enlightened, right? Right. But the thing that you like, whether you say, well, I like what you say about Obama, but I don't like what you say about Trump. You do the same thing with the Word of God, such as you like the things I say, the teachings that I say, the way I explain the Bible, the way I break it all down and make it clear. But when it comes to things like money or tithing and offering or the Sabbath, well, that is also true, but because of your false reality, because you really need a psychological debriefing, because of your false reality, you choose not to believe the tithe or the first fruit or the Sabbath. Now, it isn't true. It's as true as all the other things I've said. But you live in a false reality where you try to ignore the truth about the tithe, and so you don't do it. But everything else I say is good to go. Everything I ever say is good to go, good enough to share with your friends. It makes you laugh. It educates you. It enlightens you. But the tithe, well, and the full commitment to the ministry, well, the first fruit offerings, well, the Sabbath, that's all true as well. But you have chosen and you've been raised and indoctrinated to have a dual reality, which is dangerous. Jesus said this, and I'll leave you. He said, I would rather you be either hot or cold, but not lukewarm. You're lukewarm. You have a dual reality. He said, if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. I would rather you be completely stomped down against Pastor Manny, trying to take him down. Be fully against him. Be against him with all of your strength. Or be fully for him with all of your strength. But don't be in the middle, somewhere lukewarm. You're better than to be spit out of the mouth of Jesus if you're lukewarm. So what's it going to be? You're going to make the commitment and grow and be even better blessed, or you're going to continue to walk in the lukewarm spit of the mouth of the Savior. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.